visuals that are coming in from a few moments before the state dinner. You can see the American government choosing to roll out the proverbial red carpet. On your screens, the Prime Minister with U.S. President Joe Biden on his right and his wife, First Lady and Professor in her own right, Jill Biden, on his left. I'm going to stay silent for a second so that you can take in the sounds of the ceremonial welcome. This is a black tie affair, as you can see, but with quite a bit of bonhomie shared between the Prime Minister, who you can see is posing, between the First Lady on his right and Joe Biden on his left. They're leading the way into the White House, which, as we told you a little while earlier, is going to be the site for the state dinner in a little while from now. What's particularly interesting about the state dinner is that for the first time in recent history, this is going to be a state dinner that's entirely plant-based. No meat, no dairy, and no eggs. One that's been prepared specially for the Indian Prime Minister. Now, the visuals we're going to be showing you on your screen, they come to you as guests arrive for the official state dinner. We're going to be continuing to bring you coverage. This is the end, or we're towards the close of a very busy day for the Prime Minister. One that started with an official welcome, one that moved into his address to the Congress, and one that, as you can see now, is culminating in a state dinner where we're going to have top functionaries arriving. On the right side of your screens, we're going to continue to bring you details of who each of these functionaries are. It's typically a mix of dignitaries and business people, all leading luminaries of the Washington political scene. This time we're learning that there will be Indian faces present there too, and you'll see that in some of the clothing choices that will be exercised by the attending guests. On the right side, that moving camera as guests arrive for the White House state dinner. On the left side, the Prime Minister, accompanied by U.S. President Joe Biden. We're going to continue to bring you details. Let's talk a little bit, though, about what has been achieved between the two countries today. Much is being written about right now. My colleague Zaka Jacob, who has been present with us on the ground over the last few days, he's present right now, right outside the White House. He's bringing us coverage of this state dinner. Let's go over to Zaka. Zaka, good morning from here in India. What details can you bring us as we speak?
So you just saw moments ago pictures of Prime Minister Modi being greeted by both President Joe Biden of the United States and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, at the footsteps of the White House. They've now gone in for the state dinner. A whole host of attendees for the state dinner, including folks from India. You have Mukesh and Nita Ambani, who are part of the guest list. Anand Mahindra is part of the guest list. A whole bunch of tech CEOs, Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, they're all part of it. So is Tim Cook of Apple, Sam Altman of OpenAI. He's also part of the guest list. So it's the who's who, really, of the corporate world, both in India as well as in America, and some celebrities as well who've been invited to be part of the state dinner. So it's going to be an elaborate affair, multi-course meal. The choicest of food and wine is going to flow tonight at the White House. And I think it sort of culminates the official state visit that was granted to Prime Minister Modi today. It began with the ceremony that happened at the White House South Lawns, and right now they have all gone into the White House for the state dinner. So I think it's going to be, like I said, the culmination of whatever we've seen over the last 24 hours.
Okay, so Zaka, we can expect the mood at the White House over the next few hours to be relaxed, one of enjoyment. But can you tell us a little bit more now about the Prime Minister's address to the Congress, what the key messages were?
I think he certainly did talk about how democracy is what binds both India and the United States. He talked about how there are shared values and how we can't take our democracy for granted and that we need to work, that democracy is constant work. He also talked about regional and international issues. We talked about the Russia-Ukraine war and how the fallout of it was affecting the global south and developing world almost disproportionately. He also talked about the Indo-Pacific, keeping a free and open Indo-Pacific in a way that the dark clouds of conflict do not hover over the Indo-Pacific. So he's touched upon a broad gamut of issues. He's also referred in many ways to personal anecdotes from the last time he addressed the U.S. Congress and how there were senior members of the Congress who had passed away in that meanwhile, and how things have changed in the Indo-U.S. relationship over the last 7 years. So I think it was covering a range of issues, whether it was bilateral, the kind of trade that India and the U.S. now trade over 190 billion, which is the highest that India has with any country in the world. So, like I said, he ticked off all the boxes in terms of all the issues that had to be addressed and all the issues that had to be sort of tackled in that speech. And post the speech, we saw many members of Congress sort of come up to him, interact with him. Many of them, took his autograph and so on. So I think there was a great deal of warmth, a great deal of camaraderie, and of course, all of this, the bedrock of it is the fact that India and America are two democracies rooted in shared values. And of course, they have an interest in each other's prosperity and the prosperity of their peoples. And like Joe Biden said, America is willing to invest in India's future because India's future is America's future. So I think there is that commonality that has now emerged after this visit. If you were to sort of look at how one would characterize this visit in the context of all the other visits that we've seen, clearly, I mean, many are already calling it watershed. I think the GE jet engine deal is quite a landmark simply because it's probably the first time that at such a high level transfer of technology is happening in a defense deal, and that too, we're given to understand that close to 80% by value technology will be transferred between GE and HAL. There's also the drones, the 30 drones that have been ordered by different services of the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. That'll be the purchase order for that will be issued out soon as well. So I think on a whole host of issues, there have been substantive progress. There has been substantive issues that have been sort of thrashed out, and including what you saw in the press conference where the Prime Minister and the President were both asked a question about democracy and about human rights and India's record when it comes to religious rights and press freedoms and so on. And both of them answered that, democracy is in our DNA. It's not alien to us, and therefore it is incumbent upon us to ensure that democracy survives and thrives. So, like I said,